Greetings everyone and welcome back to our channel. For today's discussion, we will be summarizing this remarkable story and its beginning. The story starts with a prophecy. A child favored by the divine will be born. This prediction came down from the skies on the very day the Breloff twins were born. As if to confirm the truth of this prophecy, Noxia, the younger of the two sisters, developed into a young woman with strikingly bright silver blonde hair and a pleasant smile. Furthermore, her innate ability to control the elements manifested at a young age, specifically the power to freely move water. Consequently, everyone referred to Noxia as the girl favored by the divine. In contrast, Tanasia Breloff, the elder of the twins, experienced different treatment. This was due to her black hair, which was compared unfavorably to unclean water. People also took note of her facial features and a seemingly sinister smile, leading them to constantly whisper about her. The entire room was filled with laughter directed at Tanasia, the younger sister who possessed everything desirable and the older sister who possessed nothing of value in their eyes. They became a regular subject of amusement and gossip among the noble families. Eventually, Tanasia, unable to endure their hushed words any longer, departed from the room. Upon her exit, the volume of the laughter directed at her increased even more. At this point, a glass of wine is suddenly thrown onto the floor, and it breaks into pieces, causing a wave of shock to ripple through the room. However, she maintains a smile and offers an apology for her action. This is because, contrary to the assumptions of everyone present, the events that are about to unfold are not what they anticipate. She shifted her attention towards the young woman who had just spoken unkindly about her moments before. So, a short while ago, you were discussing me. Is that correct? I did not fully comprehend what you said at the time, so would you be willing to repeat it now? The girl, who had displayed such boldness in her words earlier, suddenly became hesitant and shy in the presence of Tanasia. I did not. What exactly did I even say? Tanasia took a step forward, deliberately using the heel of her shoe to stomp down on the broken pieces of the wine glass that lay scattered on the floor, as if to issue a silent warning to the young woman. I overheard someone mentioning that an individual seems to have been granted blessings from all the gods. However, there is someone else present, is there not? Someone whose situation also concerns me. The girl's eyes darted away, and she replied with a nervous tone, I simply wish to state that this signifies the development of Tanasia. Upon hearing these words, Tanasia simply offered a bright smile and responded, I do not even recall asking for your involvement in this matter, so would you please refrain from uttering such impudent nonsense? Immediately following these gentle-sounding words, her composure broke, and she raised her voice, shouting to ensure everyone in the vicinity could hear. From this moment onward, listen to my words with absolute clarity. If any person speaks ill of me behind my back even one more time, regardless of their identity, I will physically tear that person's mouth apart. She firmly resolved within herself that she would absolutely not allow herself to be easily exploited or taken advantage of. Initially, I did not recognize that this was the very world depicted in the book titled The Memory. The recollection that stands out most vividly from my previous life is the act of resigning from a job that had become unbearable and subsequently deciding to travel. Furthermore, regarding the flight to the intended tourist destination, the airplane tragically exploded shortly after it had taken off from the ground. At that precise moment, it became undeniably clear to me that I had died. Abruptly, she found herself transported to a very unfamiliar and strange place, where numerous individuals were gathered around her, calling out to her with voices filled with worry and anxiety. Miss, please open your eyes. When I finally opened my eyes, I discovered that I was now residing within the body of an entirely different person in a world that was not my own. She continuously pondered the identity of this person. The attending doctor provided the medical diagnosis. She had fallen from her horse while she was riding. It was fortunate, the doctor had said. She remained seated there, deeply lost in her thoughts, but not entirely disconnected from her surroundings. My name is Tanasia, and my sister's name is Noxia, she stated. Our family name is Yahello. Within her eyes, there appeared to be something concealed, something not immediately obvious. Suddenly, a memory resurfaced in her mind. The image of a book with the title, The Beloved Goddess, appeared. That particular novel held great popularity. Its narrative centered around two twin sisters who possessed strikingly different characteristics from one another, especially when comparing the older sister to the younger sister, Noxia, who was universally adored by everyone. The older sister was not considered special in any way. Tanasia had always been a shy individual, and as time went on, I found myself increasingly desiring the admiration and affection that Noxia received. Why had the gods bestowed everything upon Noxia? Why did I possess nothing of such value? If only I had been born as Noxia. If I were Noxia. That's right. Tanasia is the character who serves as the villainess within the narrative of the novel, The Beloved Goddess. So, your name is Tanasia, is it not? She tightly clenched her fists, feeling a sense of surprise at her own reaction, likely due to having read a considerable number of fantasy novels, which perhaps made the situation less shocking than it might otherwise have been. She admired her own reflection and beauty in the mirror. Besides, she reasoned, I have already become a member of the nobility, have I not? She quickly came to accept this new reality. In any case, she thought, I am already deceased in my previous life and cannot return to how things were before. But this does not particularly trouble me, because even when I was born in my previous life, I lived without anything resembling a family and merely endured each passing day. Furthermore, the current circumstances are not too unfavorable either. She continued to try on various expensive articles of clothing, and it seemed that everything she put on looked remarkably good on her. Nasia in the novel always compares herself to Noxia. Although she keeps preparing to enter hell, she seems to become a narcissist as she constantly looks at herself in the mirror, quietly thinking, can I be a little more beautiful? It's not me. You eat delightfully without needing to maintain an image. Appearance, personality, and ability are not bad at all. Before long, young, wealthy, and beautiful, she should indulge in the luxury that she couldn't achieve in her past life, but happiness couldn't last forever. One afternoon, she was sipping tea and jotting down something. Let's plan a trip, the two maids whispered to each other from behind. Miss Nasia seems to have become a bit odd. Doesn't she? Oh, yes, since the horse racing accident. Vitri turned to ask her friend, really, have you heard about that yet? She looked confused, as if she didn't quite get it. Vitri immediately explained, I mean people are constantly disappearing. I heard it's because of human weapon experiments, that's why. That incident in the Kaliwa Empire, right? As soon as she heard that, Nasia was startled and spit out her water. Vitri rushed over in fear and asked, Are you okay, miss? She quickly grabbed a cloth to wipe the dirt from her mouth and replied, I'm fine. Just keep talking about how a while ago you went to Kaliwa country and what happened next. Vitri was terrified and turned pale. That thing, there have been rumors spreading around the world lately. My humble opinion is that they are testing weapons on humans in the Kaliwa Empire. This year there are more missing persons than last year. They also say that everything was brought to the Kaliwa Empire. But it's all just rumors. Don't worry too much, miss. Nasia helplessly muttered, Oh my god. The Aquan Empire, the backdrop of the beloved goddess, waged war against the Kaliwa Empire. The problem is that after losing that battle, Nasia will die. The character Nasia has died, and the final secret of the novel is Atkan, who was a victim of human weapon experimentation. After surviving the experiment, he became someone with the strongest worldview and also turned into a monster. She calmed herself, stay cool, there's still time. Atkan once escaped from the lab when he was just 15 years old. Although he was misunderstood as a slave and sold to the Aquan Empire due to his shabby clothing. From those facts, she could already guess, right? There was such a moment, because Nasia and Atkan were the same age. So if they were 15, this would be the year that event happened. She stood up quickly and asked the maid, Where is the slave market in the capital, Vitri? I need to go there right away. The maid, looking confused, asked back. What? The slave market? Why does the young lady want to go there all of a sudden? Nasia quickly urged, There's no time to hesitate, get the carriage ready for me now. Suddenly, A young man outside began knocking on her door. "I apologize for the intrusion, master." She turned her face to the door and said, "Come in." A young man in old, worn-out clothes slowly opened the door and said, "I have prepared the bathwater as ordered."
She stood there, staring blankly at him.
It seems this man brought her an oddly familiar feeling. That jet-black hair, eyes as deep as an abyss, ancient tattoos. She pointed at him and hesitantly asked, "What's your name?" The guy replied, "I'm Atkan." She stood frozen for a few seconds at this shocking news. Wait, why is Atkan here? Why is he at my house? This kind of content isn't in the original work. In The Beloved Goddess, it is mentioned that Atkan escaped from the laboratory, but there is no explanation about his time as a slave to the Relo clan. However, The Beloved Goddess is not a perfect novel, as there may be some unexplored elements. I was thinking of looking for Atkan, but since he appeared right in front of me like this, should I be happy? Suddenly, someone called her, the owner. Atkan asked if, once there was nothing else for me to do, I could go back. She awkwardly replied, "All right." He politely bowed to her, then turned and left. She looked at him with a confused expression. What just happened? He went outside as if he were running away. Vitri, standing behind her, asked anxiously, "Miss, are you just going to let this slide?" Naja turned around and asked, "What do you mean by that?" She quickly changed her tone and replied, "Oh, it's nothing. Since I saw you let him off earlier than usual, I'm not really sure." Naja felt more and more confused as she listened. Earlier than usual, had she done anything before being possessed by this body? She pretended to ask the servant, "What am I usually like?" After the horse riding accident, my recent memories are really hazy. Seeing that the two people seemed scared, she spoke up and said, "No matter what you say, I won't get angry, so please be honest. This is the only way to help me recover my memory." Vitri started trembling. The thing is, the lady hated Atkan from the very beginning. The young lady often said that she did not want to see Atkan's black hair. Just turn on the faucet, and the bath water will come out, but the young lady tells him every day to fetch water directly. When she's in a bad mood, the young lady often lashes out with a whip and scolds Atkan. After hearing it, Naja was stunned, unable to believe she had done such cruel things in the past. This is the sign to log out, right? Atkan holds a grudge and sends me away, and it's only fair. She suddenly remembered, wait a minute, could it be that sending Atkan to the Kaliwa Empire wasn't actually my idea? Although in the original story Atkan escaped from the lab of the Kaliwa Empire and moved to the Aquan Empire, for some reason, he was caught and brought back there. I can't quite remember why anymore, but from the current situation, if it has anything to do with that, it's really over. The tray asked, "Miss, the schedule for visiting the slave market tomorrow?" She flatly refused, "No. The slave market is gone." She thought to herself, "I can't give up my life here, no matter what. I must find a way." That night, I fell into the world of the book and dreamed for the first time. That was my dream when I found Atkan at the slave market. He was locked up in a tightly packed prison room. I realized all the ancient words were engraved on his neck. Not only that, there are dozens of magical formulas engraved on Atkan's body. That is to turn him into a weapon of humanity. It's the result of the experiment forcibly inscribed. They have given special abilities to an ordinary person. I might also have powers like Noxia. Using water abilities, that's Noxia's domain. I absolutely can't surpass that. If I could solve the secrets of the ancient words and the magical tricks engraved on Atkan's body, I still think I might be able to use this ability. So I started studying Atkan through opposition. Since it wasn't legitimate, all the truth was kept completely under wraps by him, the first thing I did was to figure out what his abilities were. She grabbed the rope in her hand and whipped it hard against his stomach. "You can't escape, it won't do any good. Looking at the tricks carved into your body, I already know, you were never an ordinary person, right? Show me your hidden potential." Atkan looked up at her but refused to say a word. Naja laughed wickedly and asked, "Are you planning to keep silent until the end?" So she kept hitting him to vent her anger. Naja delivered her strikes with precision, as if she were playing with a pet. She held the handle of the whip tightly in her hand. Beating relentlessly on Atkan made his entire body show clear marks. After torturing him for a while, Nasia also gradually began to feel tired. She walked over to him, touched the wounds with her hand, and gently asked, "Is this it? The potential to fully sterilize the body? If it's this, even if I face dozens or hundreds of people alone, I won't die. No matter how I'm attacked, my body won't be harmed. So, let's see how long you can endure in your steel state." Sweat poured down from Atkan like rain, and he no longer had the strength to speak. Nasia closed her eyes tightly, her inner self constantly urging her to stop. "I just want to wake up," but she keeps beating and torturing Atkan without mercy. He just gritted his teeth, enduring the searing pain. The desperate cries echoed once again in Nasia's mind, "Stop, stop right now." Her eyes widened as if awakened. It turns out it was just a dream all along. She was gasping for breath, sweat streaming down her face. Nasia suddenly sat up. Then worrying and reflecting, this is not just an ordinary dream. Clearly, that is my memory before I possessed the soul. I didn't just bother Atkan, but also tried experiments like the Kaliwa Empire. If the story continues along this path, it's highly likely that I, someone who knows Atkan's identity, have sold him to the Kaliwa Empire. If it goes on like this, I'll be avenged by Atkan. I have to find a way to resolve his grudge. Early the next morning, she personally went down to the servants' quarters to find him. Nasia was stunned and called out, "Atkan." It turns out that inside the room, he was using a towel to wipe off sweat. As soon as she saw her, she asked, "What brings you all the way here? Does your master have any request for me?" His words made her feel a bit uneasy. At first, it wasn't clear, but he's being cautious around me. Yes, it's true, even now he's still being bullied, so it's only fair. From now on, it will be different, she sighed and replied, "Nothing special anyway. I will move your living space inside the mansion, not this small and dark room, but a cleaner place." Atkan looked a bit doubtful, moving to a new place. "I don't understand what the master is saying anymore." She also enthusiastically explained, "I mean from now on, you don't have to worry about anything anymore. The Beloved Goddess is not a perfect novel, so I think I will change it according to the direction I desire." Nasia crossed her arms confidently and declared, "Atkan, from now on you will be my personal assistant." He was completely shocked by this lady's decision. She quietly made up her mind, no matter what, she had to get a happy ending. After hearing Nasia's request, Atkan froze for 3 seconds, unable to speak. Then, his face darkened, clearly showing discomfort. Seeing that, Nasia felt uneasy and thought to herself, "Guess I can't hide what I dislike anymore." So, she hesitated again, wondering whether or not to keep the secret, but then, Nasia realized that Atkan had such an unpleasant expression, because he had to be next to a fierce and cruel master. She also told herself that, even so, he shouldn't go against her words. Nasia signaled to him and said, "Pack up your things and get out of here." Atkan heard that and replied, "I understand." While you were busy packing, Nasia just stood silently to the side, thinking to herself that even though she didn't like it, she had to do it. She was considering keeping you close and dealing with the mistakes Nasia had made earlier. She clenched her fist with determination. "I'll try my best to the point where I won't even remember the grudges I'm holding inside." Suddenly, Atkan spoke up, "Master, I finished everything." Seeing that, Nasia was also surprised. It's done already." She looked at the only bag he was carrying and wondered, "Is that all?" But he just calmly replied, "Yes." Seeing that, Nasia hesitantly asked, "Do you wear that same outfit in the winter too?" Atkan replied indifferently, "Yes, that's right." Thinking about it, she immediately imagined him huddled in his thin clothes, the same ones he had worn all year round, sitting alone in the desolate snow. Then, Nasia immediately waved her hand and signaled to the servant next to her, "It's not right. Let's choose appropriate clothes first. Call the tailor for me." The maid behind her quickly followed her orders. Seeing this, Atkan immediately stopped and said, "I'm fine, it's okay." However, Nasia dismissed his comments and coldly replied, "No, I do not accept my servant looking scruffy." She continued, "From now on, don't call me master anymore, just call me miss, got it?" A while later, in the grand hall, Nasia clapped to get everyone's attention, and then declared loudly that from today, Atkan would be her servant. The servants Hearing this, worriedly thought to themselves that the young lady had decided to have someone close by to torment. The three of them were so preoccupied that their faces showed clear signs of unease, which allowed Nasia to easily read their thoughts. She thought to herself, contrary to what everyone was worried about, she would treat Ekkan well to ensure a happy ending. Then the tailor began the process of measuring Tarskin and making alterations to the clothing. During this time, Natasha Lily sat nearby, slowly sipping her tea while reading a book. Suddenly, the voice of a servant was heard announcing, "Miss, I will show you the picture that he modeled for." Upon hearing this, Natasha lifted her gaze, and the curtain separating the rooms was slowly drawn open. Tarskin then stepped out into view. The two maids who were present behind him were visibly shocked, their eyes widening and their mouths opening as if they could not believe what they were seeing. At this moment, Tarskin appeared transformed into a refined person, a stark contrast to the downtrodden appearance he had as a slave before. His long hair had been cut, revealing the handsome features of his face, which also held a hint of shyness. The tailor simply gestured towards Tarskin and inquired, "Miss Natasha, what is your opinion?" She responded with a simple question. "What? It is a useful investment. Send the remaining clothes to his room." The scene then changes to the dining table, where the maids had arranged a large meal consisting of various delicacies. Natasha spoke to Tarskin in a gentle and warm tone. "You must be hungry, correct? Please feel free to eat as much as you desire." Observing her unusually kind manner, which was different from her behavior on other days, he felt somewhat uneasy but had no choice but to comply with her wishes. Tarskin awkwardly held the knife, attempting to cut a piece of meat. Natasha noticed his difficulty and wondered to herself, "Is the knife so dull that it is hard to cut with?" She then signaled to a nearby servant and instructed him, "Just serve him the pre-cut portion today." He replied hesitantly, "Oh yes, okay." Natasha continued to look at Tarskin, thinking, "If he experiences something he has never had before, I believe he will enjoy it. Not that particular dish. His emotions seem completely absent. It would be beneficial if he could relax a little during a walk." A short time later, they made a decision to take a walk in the forest located near their home. Natasha walked at a leisurely pace, speaking while looking behind her, asking if they could venture a little further into the woods. Tarskin followed her, his curiosity piqued as to where she intended to lead him. After they had walked for a bit longer, Natasha suddenly stopped and said, This is the place." She pointed towards two logs that were lying on the ground in front of her and instructed him, "Sit down over there." "Good. Sit down quickly." Seeing that Tarskin had no option but to agree, he sat down on the log that was opposite to her. Natasha then looked up at the sky and continued, "This is the best spot to observe the stars. You should try it as well." Following her suggestion, Tarskin also looked up at the sky to observe the stars. Witnessing the perfectly picturesque scene before them, one would surely be surprised. With her eyes still fixed on the sky, Natasha suddenly inquired, "How do you feel? Is it enjoyable to look at the stars like this?" Tarskin hesitated for a considerable amount of time, then his expression underwent a complete change of 180 degrees. His face became dark, and he said in a strained voice, "How about we try another way?" Upon hearing this, she could not help but feel surprised and simply stood there, a question mark forming in her mind. Seeing that he continued speaking, "The lady instructed me to seize the power of Lady Noxia, or if not that, she said to eliminate Noxia, but no matter what she says, I still find myself unable to do it." As he spoke about this, Natasha could not help but feel a sense of terror and thought, "What? Oh my God, did he just say that I had actually said that?" Then, an image of the leather whip from her memory suddenly flashed to her mind, and she realized something. "Oh, what have I done in the past? Before treating them well, I had something I wanted to say first." Natasha tightened her lips and said, "I am sorry, Tarskin." Upon hearing that, he seemed to pause for a brief moment. Meanwhile, she continued to explain, "I am aware that you must be very tired, and I apologize for everything I have said and done. Actually, after the accident during the horseback riding, I lost my memory. I do not remember what actions I took before. Even my hatred for Noxia has disappeared. Her voice caught and she continued, "From this point forward, I will not concern myself with your abilities or anything of that nature, so please try to forget the unreasonable requests I made of you. I promise that I will not bother you anymore." Observing this, Tarskin clenched her fists and replied that she had promised she would prefer to be trampled and beaten as usual rather than experience this, as it was too uncomfortable to witness such a change. At this moment, Natasha is seated in the library, her thoughts far away as if she were in a daze following the events that had just transpired. She let out a sigh of frustration, thinking that Tarskin's betrayal ran much deeper than she had initially believed. Perhaps she should simply abandon her principles and flee to a distant place. Would that not guarantee her survival? She continued to repeat to herself, "That is not the correct course of action, is it?" If that were the case, the head of the Rello family would not remain silent. I am only 15 years old, and it is not an easy thing to do alone. Natasha continued to grapple with her thoughts, wondering how she could possibly alter her fate. Suddenly, a voice interrupted her train of thought. "Natasha, lady." It turned out that the voice belonged to Matt, the tutor of the Rello family. She kindly asked again, "Miss, why do you not attempt to solve the questions that I have just explained for a while?" Seeing that Natasha stammered, yes, but deep down she felt worried and blamed herself, thinking that she'd been too preoccupied with other thoughts to properly focus on what the tutor was explaining. She bit her pen, thinking, "Let's see." Then, Nasia suddenly realized that, wait a minute, the problem seemed simpler than she thought. She immediately answered, "The answer is 13. Upon hearing that, Professor Matt said, "Lady, are you solving this equation by calculation right now?" Nasia replied, "I am calculating, but I've also come up with another equation." Then she quickly scribbled a draft and explained that solving it this way would be much easier. As she spoke, she marveled at her own skills, surprised at how she knew all of this. At this moment, the professor was astonished and exclaimed, "Oh my God, though I knew Lady was exceptional, this is beyond my imagination," she continued, "up until now. The lady's willpower has been so strong that I couldn't stop her. Today I must get to the bottom of this." After a while, Professor Matt laid a stack of books on the table and said to her, "Now, young lady, go ahead and read. Is there any textbook in this pile that Lady cannot solve?" Seeing this, Nasia was also surprised. "What's going on?" She glanced through the books and replied, "No, I can solve them all." Speaking of this, the professor pointed to those books and said to her, "These are advanced textbooks on magical techniques. These are things that Lady I has never studied before. Do you understand what you're saying? Naisha Lady I has a natural talent for techniques." She continued, "So miss, don't waste your time on magic and spirit studies anymore." Nasia was stunned when she heard that. She realized that she had become so natural that she could no longer form a question. In the dream, she had seen through the ancient languages within the body of Atkan. What she discovered about humanity's weapon experiment in the original work is that she could read all the tricks, but Nasia in the original work was not nurtured in her true talent. Furthermore, to mimic Noxia, she focused on learning things that did not suit her. Lost in thought, Nasia suddenly realized something. She thought to herself, "That's right, if I can make good use of my own abilities." Suddenly, Professor Matt's voice next to her cut through her thoughts. Nasia, Lady of the Aquan Emperor, she could become the greatest scholar on that continent. She sincerely continued, "Of course, that is if Lady doesn't hide this talent. If the master knows the truth, he might be happier than anyone else." Seeing the professor's earnest demeanor, Nasia was speechless, but she still agreed to her request. "Professor, you could tell my father about my situation too. I want to see him happy, after all." She thought to herself, "I have no reason to choose like Nasia in the original work. Maybe this is another way to change my fate." Transitioning to the garden of the mansion, at this moment, Nasia and Atkan are strolling together. However, in her mind, she keeps thinking, she suddenly realizes there might be another way. And she doesn't understand why she has this newfound hope. She turned her head, glanced at Atkan, and thought, "That's right, From the very beginning, there were too many variables when I entrusted my fate to Atkan's heart. I must find a way to protect my own body. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed, "Hey, watch out!" Then, water came rushing in from somewhere, right in front of Nasia, catching her off guard. So, the water poured all over her, making her clothes completely soaked. Nasia looked up and guessed, just now, that voice. It turns out, the scream earlier came from Noxia, her beloved younger sister. She put on a worried, scared expression after accidentally splashing water on her sister. Seeing this, Atkan immediately handed his handkerchief to Nasia and said, "Miss, are you all right?" She immediately replied, "Yeah, thank you, it seems like you're wet too." He answered, "I'm fine." Noxia stood trembling and said, "I'm sorry, it might sound like an excuse, but I really didn't mean to." Seeing this, Nasia comforted, "It's okay." At this point, her younger sister was also surprised by her unusually different behavior. However, she wiped her face and continued to reassure, "I told you it's all right." Nasia also remembered, the original text had similar content. The servants begged Noxia to show them her abilities. Noxia displayed her still clumsy skills. It was a rather rude scene, so she told Noxia, "It's just an accident, don't take it to heart." Hearing that, the other person immediately changed their attitude, their face brightened. He nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes," but Nasia replied, "However, practicing skills here isn't ideal. Guests from the family might pass by here, so we must not make any mistakes." Noxia replied, "Oh, I see, I didn't think of that." Two maids next to her were crying and said, "Miss Nasia, Miss Noxia did nothing wrong." "Yes, we begged her to show me her abilities." Natasha directed her gaze towards them and said, "So, do you now realize your mistake?" They trembled slightly and replied, "Yes, we do." She continued, "Do not beg at a later time. Noxia is quite sensitive and might display her skills anywhere." They were taken aback by this statement and asked, "What?" Natasha then darkened her expression and replied, "Do you not understand? Let me reiterate." They stammered, "No, that is not it. We will remember this for the rest of our lives." Observing this exchange, Noxia hesitated for a considerable amount of time before speaking to her sister. "Thank you, Nia." Natasha then inquired, "About what?" She replied, "Since I accepted your apology and spoke those words because of you." Natasha gently said, "It is nothing. You do not need to express it in that manner." As she said this, she immediately thought of Tarskin and glanced over at him. At this moment, his clothes were thoroughly wet, revealing scars on his body from a time before. Upon seeing this, she stated, "All right then, I will proceed ahead first." Noxia, however, after Natasha left her younger sister, thought to herself, It seems as though her expression darkened just now. Did I perhaps make a mistake again?" A while later, after she had returned to the mansion, she called out, "Tarskin," and he immediately responded, "Yes, Mississippi." She turned around to face him and said, "Wait a moment, remove all of those clothes." Upon hearing this instruction, he froze in place, standing completely still for approximately 3 seconds. He then hesitated for a brief moment before slowly beginning to unbutton his shirt. Natasha opened the cabinet and began to search for something. She continued her search while anxiously thinking to herself, "Those wounds are my responsibility, are they not? I should apply medicine to them to prevent scarring." Eventually, she located a jar of scar ointment. She immediately turned to face the other person, but seeing him kneeling down in front of her caused her to exclaim in surprise, "Tarskin, what on earth are you doing?" He calmly replied, "Because the lady instructed me to remove my shirt." She responded in a tone of horror, "Really? Then why are you kneeling suddenly?" She then suddenly remembered, "Oh, right, in the dream. To test Tarskin's resilience, I used to whip on him." Natasha sighed softly and thought to herself, if Tarskin were to ask me to remove my shirt, he would probably interpret it as some kind of signal. She then moved past his scarred body, opened the medicine jar, and took out some of the cream. Slowly, she began to apply it to each scar on his body. Tarskin suddenly stepped aside and questioned, "What are you doing, miss?" She pointed to the jar of cream and said, "What else?" am applying medicine for you." Natasha continued to apply the ointment while saying, "Do not move. Remain still. The medicine will prevent infection, so it will not sting." Being kind to Tarskin might not result in any significant change, but Natasha could not bring herself to ignore the wounds on this child's body. Therefore, treating Tarskin with care was a small form of insurance for a future that she could not possibly foresee. It was entirely her own internal transformation. The scene cuts to a dark room illuminated only by the light of a desk lamp. Natasha is seated at the desk, writing something. She writes as she thinks, "I have been reconsidering how to avoid the path of death. What if I could utilize my own power to bring an end to this war? If there is no conflict between the CA Empire and Aquin, many things will change. For instance, the Rello clan will not be annihilated and will be able to protect itself. There will never be a situation in which Tarskin, the immortal moral of the enemy empire, takes my life. Moreover, if I assist Tarskin in avoiding capture and return to the laboratory, who knows? Perhaps the CA Empire has already experienced failure in their attempts to develop human weapons." Natasha continued to write and think deeply, the primary issue being how to effectively harness her own abilities in this situation. Her eyes appeared vacant, and her head nodded slightly and continuously. She quietly thought to herself that she still had not yet figured out the correct method early on. The next morning, a voice suddenly awakened her. The young lady was still lying on the table, with a bit of drool on her mouth and a tired expression on her face. Vitri looked worried and asked her, "Why is the young lady sleeping here? Is everything all right?" Natasha slowly sat up and looked at the maid. Her eyes lacked their usual brightness, her face was pale from a lack of sleep, and her voice sounded somewhat tired as she replied, "Oh, I merely closed my eyes for a moment." She thought to herself, "I have been thinking all night and ended up falling asleep." She then directed her attention to the maid and asked with a somewhat stern expression, "What is going on?" The maid Vitri replied, "The master wishes for everyone to have dinner together this evening. Before dinner, I will assist you in freshening up." Natasha, feeling confused, asked again, "The master?" She wondered if this referred to the head of the house Rello, which would be her father. While simultaneously raising her hand to wipe the saliva from her mouth, she thought with suspicion, "What is happening all of a sudden?" She spoke while thinking, "This is the first time I am meeting my father since entering this body. I am feeling a bit nervous." The Rello person is known to be intelligent and composed. He is the main figure responsible for elevating the family's reputation due to his sharp business sense. Contrary to his seemingly cold exterior, he's extremely considerate towards his daughters. Her face remained expressionless, but she continued to think, "Nothing will happen. Just act naturally." Standing before her was a man with platinum hair, dressed in a black and white suit, and seated next to him was Noxia, both of them looking in her direction. Unexpectedly, the man with platinum hair sitting across from her turned out to be Natasha's father. With his handsome and radiant face and piercing blue eyes looking in her direction, he raised his hand, inviting her to approach, and said, "Come in, Natasha." Her whole body suddenly became stiff, her face filled with shock, her mouth slightly open in disbelief. She thought, "What is this? Why does my father appear so young?" She then suddenly remembered, her father and her late mother had an arranged marriage and married at a young age. Her calm expression returned as she bowed to her father and replied, "Dad, you are early. You do not have any work today, correct?" While she answered, she reminded herself to remain calm. The father closed his eyes, his face remaining calm as he answered her, "Yes, that is correct, but we had to cancel our plans because there is a gift that we wish to give you." Just as he finished speaking, the bodyguard who was standing next to him and holding a red box bent down towards her. Natasha displayed a surprised expression and asked again, "What is the gift?" The bodyguard next to her opened the red box, revealing a beautifully crafted sparkling red necklace inside. She looked at it and gasped, "This?" The father looked at the girl and said, "We have received word from Matt that she has demonstrated exceptional talent in the field of magical techniques during this lesson. This is a congratulatory gift, and I hope that it meets your expectations.
The father continued, from now on, think seriously about your future. I will do my best to meet your wishes. Her face flushed with embarrassment, her eyes still fixed on the box. She thanked her father. This is a gift I did not expect, thank you, Dad. She wondered why her father would disrupt his schedule just to give her this. He could have just left it in the room. The father, with a slightly flushed face, said it was good that it was just what she wanted, but in his heart, he thought, she's even more foolish than I thought. Noxia smiled happily, clapping her hands to congratulate her and said, congratulations, this gemstone jade bracelet is really beautiful, it will surely suit you well, Nasia replied, thank you. Noxia suddenly remembered something and excitedly said, now that I think about it, the Crown Prince's birthday ball is coming up. If you wear this necklace then, it'll be just perfect. She listened and was unexpectedly surprised, thinking slowly, the Crown Prince's birthday ball, huh? The Crown Prince's birthday ball was where Noxia had their first encounter. The main character is Crown Prince Rohio. Two people began their first meeting, and they felt a sense of goodwill toward each other. That is the story of falling in love when you're already grown up. Of course, Nasia is the villain trying to separate the two by any means possible. But what if you support the main character's love? What would that be like? So by making an effort to separate the two people, at least the mortality rate might decrease. Suddenly, she placed the collar box on the table and said, Noxia. Nasia held the necklace towards Noxia with a cheerful expression and said, Sister, let me borrow this necklace, okay? The two of them looked at her in surprise. Noxia hesitated before answering. She showed a worried, confused expression, raised her hand to decline and said, I think it would suit you better, it's not that I don't want to borrow it. She calmly replied, I know, I just think if you wear this necklace to the ball, it would be better. Noxia shyly replied, thanks, but how could I? Her face beamed as she comforted, don't be shy, it clearly suits you better. She smiled, propping her chin and asking Noxia, Sister, could you help me pick a dress that matches this necklace? She thought to herself, she didn't want to stand out at the gala. It would be better to make Noxia truly stand out, and successfully guide her first meeting with Rohyo. Noxia looked expectant, her cheeks flushed as she asked, really, are you going to pick a dress with me? She happily replied, of course, if you want it, it can be done. Noxia excitedly answered, so happy. The father suddenly spoke up, saying, from my perspective, the relationship between the two sisters is good. The father continued, Nasia, you don't have to be so accommodating. She suddenly replied, yes. The father turned to the guard next to him and said, prepare another necklace, just like this one for me. The guard replied, yes sir. She was so shocked that her whole body froze as she wondered, is it really possible to do that? Noxia is excited and eagerly asks, Sister, when can we go choose a dress? The princess replied to her younger sister, you can go anytime you want. The father happily said, let's eat and chat at the same time. Both children replied in unison, yes. A man standing from afar is watching everyone at the dining table laughing and having a good time. It turns out that Atkan, with a thoughtful expression on his face, looked at them as if he was pondering something. Your eyes looked toward Nasia, who was smiling and chatting with everyone. Nasia felt someone looking at her, so she stopped talking. She turned to look at him. Atkan was caught off guard, because he had been discovered by the spy. She looked at him tenderly and smiled. Finished, she turned around and continued talking with everyone. You were surprised and speechless. You intended to say something to her, but couldn't. Suddenly, his hand clenched into a fist, veins bulging. Atkan whispered to himself, what am I thinking? His hand clenched tightly on the bed sheet, veins bulging on his hand. Turns out Atkan was sleeping, but his face looked uncomfortable, sweating, body trembling, breathing heavily, hands clutching the blanket tightly. In the dream, he was running away from a man in black. You rushed forward, sweating, your face full of worry, and as you were running, you suddenly stumbled over a small rock, making you fall to the ground, with a face full of pain and discomfort. Suddenly, strange people appeared in front of and behind him. His face filled with fear as he looked up. A voice echoed, Atkan, do you think you can escape? He tried to sit up to face the strange men, but then one of the men opened a bottle of medicine. The stranger spoke up, even before or after death, you cannot escape to the country Kahlua. He listened, his face terrified as he looked at the man. He jolted awake from a terrifying nightmare, breathing heavily, drenched in sweat, his face haggard. Since escaping the lab, I haven't had a normal night's sleep. Every night, I have the same nightmare where they come after me. He stood up, his face serious, and opened the door. Inside the cabinet was an old, torn brown bag placed right in the center. He raised his hand to grab the bag. Whenever that girl's odd behavior disappears, I will have to return to my original position. Your gaze was aimless as you held the bag and pondered, so absolutely do not hope for anything. Since his identity was revealed, Atkan has seen the chance to leave the Relo clan. The pursuers sent by the Kalu Empire find it very difficult to infiltrate the Relo family, a high-ranking Aquan noble. Right now, he only stays here because he sees it as a safe place. If you've decided on a safe destination, and gathered enough money for the trip, Atkan could leave this place when the right opportunity came. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, Atkan clenched his fists and told himself to just endure until then. He stepped out of the room, walking down the hallway when suddenly a voice filled with contempt came from behind. Who is this? Atkan heard a noise and turned to look. Behind you are two other workers, mocking you. So, you've become a runner and your status has improved, huh? It seems like you don't even think about greeting us anymore, do you? Atkan didn't want to cause more trouble, so he bowed in greeting. They were the ones who had shared a room with him before. Seeing Atkan turn his back and walk away, the guy behind felt humiliated, his face flushed with anger, gripping the wrench tightly in his hand. He shouted, "That insolent kid," then threw the wrench at Atkan. A strong blow to the back of Atkan's head stunned him, the blooded wrench dropping to the ground. From behind came a threatening voice, "You'll be in trouble if I tell your master about this." Atkan calmly touched the back of his neck. "Try saying some nonsense, and I'll split your head in two." Seeing his fingers covered in blood, Atkan paused for a moment. Then he spoke up, "Next time, remember to give a heads up before doing things like this. Thanks to you, I didn't get my clothes dirty." Hearing that, the man got furious. "What? You little brat, do you think just wearing those clothes will make you a noble? You think your handsome face will keep life going as it is, but no, you will soon be cast aside." The remaining person quickly intervened, saying, "Come on, he's already a strange guy." Hearing these words, Atkan's face darkened. "You remember the words the man with glasses said, you are a walking time bomb. If your emotions become too intense, you could burn everything around you in an instant." If Atkan uses his power, he could easily take at least one life. The problem is that he can't control his power. Once he starts to unleash it, he has to destroy everything in front of him to stop. Atkan is hardly ever angry about things like that, but just a little bit. At that moment, a female voice broke his train of thought. "When will I be able to abandon my identity, Atkan?" While the three men stood puzzled, not knowing what was happening, Naja gracefully walked over and said clearly, "My schedule changed suddenly, so I came to find you." Then she looked at the two villains, smiling coldly, but who would have thought she'd witnessed such an interesting scene? The two of them immediately bowed nervously and anxiously. I'm sorry, miss," the two of them stammered, not daring to look directly at her. Naja replied, "You need to apologize to Atkan first. It seems like he got hurt by something thrown at him. The person who threw the wrench earlier is now shivering and apologizing, saying they didn't mean to hurt you, they were just so angry." Atkan also mumbled a few words, saying they're okay. At that moment, the heroine spoke up, clearly stating that she had already warned them, her personality wasn't great. "If you touch my stuff again, be ready for what's coming, got it?" The others answered in fear, "Yes, master." She waved her hand, "Get out of here before I change my mind." Atkan silently watched his mistress. Naja asked with concern, "How is your wound, is it all right?" Atkan replied, "Yes, it's nothing serious." The girl widened her eyes and said loudly, "What's wrong? Didn't you hear what I said earlier? You're my servant, you're mine. So, if you don't have my permission, you are not allowed to get injured. That's an order." Atkan, upon hearing this, felt a bit unsettled. He looked up and replied, "Yes, I understand." Nasia turned abruptly, coldly saying, "No time to waste, so go get your wound treated. Noxia is waiting." Seeing her leave, Atkan immediately asked, "Master, where are you going?" She turned back and answered, "I'm going to pick a dress to wear to the royal ball." You said to Nasia, "Then master, just leave me here and go. I'll heal my wounds on my own." Nasia was surprised and asked, "What did you say? You're also attending the royal ball, so you need to coordinate your outfit accordingly." Atkan heard that and was confused. "You mean I'm going too?" Then, Nasia took Atkan to try on clothes. The maids put various outfits on Atkan, making him feel extremely exhausted. The maids treated him like a doll, creatively mixing and matching. "Try on this set of jewelry," they suggested. Nasia and Noxia sat on the couch, observing. Noxia felt a bit envious, saying, "Any outfit on your maid looks great." Hearing this, Nasia felt pleased, thinking the investment was worthwhile. At that moment, Noxia also confessed, "I think you have great taste. I really like the dress you picked out for me earlier." The lead actress smiled when she heard this and said, "That's good then." Nasia pointed at Atkan and said, "Go change into this outfit, then tell the maids to wrap the tailcoat for me." Nasia opened the collection to look through it, thinking, "Now I just need to pick a dress for myself, right? I love shopping, but this is really exhausting." She flipped through those outfits, her face showing no hint of excitement. Right at that moment, a servant called her, "The lady of the Relo family. I have prepared outfits in the usual style for you." A variety of brightly colored evening gowns displayed in front of her. Nasia thought to herself, "I feel like this style suits Noxia better than it does me." Then she suddenly remembered, it made sense, because Noxia was originally a copy of Nasia. The heroine waved her hand at the servant and said, "My preferences have changed, so I don't wear those kinds of clothes anymore." She looked to the side. Her pitch-black outfit combined with dark red patterns exuding both mystery and allure. Nasia said, "Compared to these, get me the dress over there." The servant respectfully said, "This is quite different from your usual style, miss, but it seems like it will suit you. If you try it on just once." Nahashia didn't say much. She just said, "All right, get that one for me." Noxia said with concern, "Sister, I've spent so much time picking out a dress for you and a suit for the servant, but you're not even trying on your outfit." Nasia calmly replied, "I don't need to try it on to know it will suit me, and besides, I'm feeling a bit tired now." Noxia, hearing that, became dejected. Meanwhile, the female lead waved her hand, calling the servant over. The cheerful maid said, "While waiting, I'll go prepare the tea." Noxia excitedly said, "I'll have iced black tea, and Nasia wants to drink that too." At this moment, 2 glasses of water had been brought out, but the maid holding the tray seemed to be trembling. The maid, her face pale and trembling, said, "Here is the cold black tea for the 2 young ladies." Nasia replied, "Thank you," observing her. The leading lady wondered, "Why are you so nervous?" While setting the glass down, the maid's sleeve accidentally hit the other glass, making the entire glass of water spill onto the ground, splashing all over Nasia's dress. The maids were in a panic, quickly running to find a towel. Noxia beside her was also startled. "Are you okay?" The hem of the dress was completely soaked, and at that moment, Atkan slowly knelt down. His actions moved Nasia, her eyes shining. Atkan gently dabbed the water off the main character's dress. "You gently asked, 'Master, are you hurt anywhere?'" Nasia regained consciousness, feeling awkward, giving an unclear response. Just like that, the 2 master and servant stayed silent, watching intently at Atkan's work. After wiping for a while, he said, "It's still damp, but won't be wet anymore." Hearing this, Nasia was amazed and said, "What's this? You're really skilled." Knowing that it's natural for a servant to do these things for their master, my feelings are still somewhat strange. Until now, could it be because I just saw Atkan's wary expression? Acting like a servant, what is this? The female lead gently reached out, brushing her hand over Atkan's hair. It was truly charming. The sweet atmosphere filled the space. Atkan was taken aback by his boss's actions. Nasia was dazed for a moment, then suddenly snapped back to reality, and immediately pulled her hand away. "Oh, I don't even know anymore, just stop." Then she awkwardly said, "Thank you, you can stand up now." Nahajia thought to herself, Atkan's loyal gesture looked so cute, do I really have this kind of preference? On the opposite side, Noxia sat watching the scene with sparkling eyes, her face flushed red. Forget about that. Right now the servants are bowing deeply to apologize. I don't know how to say sorry anymore. It's my fault for not training the staff well. Naja sat on the chair coldly and said, you don't think just an apology will do, right? The manager bent down and said, of course, we will compensate. If Miss wants anything, please let us know. She started by saying that first, she would charge for washing both the maid's clothes and the dress. If it couldn't be cleaned, she might have to send me a new dress. The manager agreed, saying, yes, of course. Then she continued, do you want to be punished like last time? When the staff asked that, Naja felt surprised. Punishment. The manager's face fell as he recounted, in the past, when this happened, Miss directly hit me. This time, can you generously let it go? Hearing her speak like that, Naja was astonished. She recalled the moment, when the staff member shakily placed the glass of water down. So that was why their hands were trembling. Because seeing me in person terrified her, it's natural that she was tense. I have a bad personality, but Naja in the original story would raise both hands and feet. Who would have thought that she personally hit the wardrobe staff with her own hands? What is Atkan thinking right now? Noxia is quietly waiting for my decision. Both of them are acting as if they are used to this situation. In my heart, I want to deny that it was something I did, but the staff member continued, of course, that was our fault, so it's only natural for the young lady to punish us. But at that moment, the main character interrupted her, waved her hand and replied, that's enough, you don't need to explain anymore, because I won't do that. The staff member I punished before, is she still working here? Hearing that, the manager was a bit surprised and replied, no, I have taken care of it so that she will never appear in the dressing room again. So you don't need to worry, miss. Naja replied, there's no need for that. If you want, you can rehire her. And consider the compensation for the dress I just gave to the employee I punished as a consolation. The staff in the costume room heard what Naja said, and no one could believe it. Even Noxia sitting next to her looked at her with admiration. This is something the female lead has to endure once Naja takes possession. But this kind of mistake can be fixed easily. At this moment, Atkan also looked at his master with a different gaze. After the two ladies left, the staff of the costume room also came out to see them off, bowing and saying, thank you, Lady Relo, please come back to us next time. After their figures disappeared from sight, the employee who had spilled the water earlier collapsed onto the ground, letting out a sigh of relief. The person next to her, concerned, asked if she was okay. The confused employee asked, but what happened? Why did the young lady forgive me? The colleague immediately replied, how could we ever know the mood swings of the aristocrats? Maybe Lady Chuseo is in a good mood today. At this point, the manager spoke up, unsure why Relo suddenly changed, but perhaps the rumors about her could be completely reversed. Standing at the checkout counter, Atkan had heard everything they talked about and was deep in thought. The carriage stopped at the palace, and the servant respectfully invited Noxia to step down. The girl turned around and asked her older sister, aren't you coming down? Naria was still sitting in the carriage. She replied, I want to gather my thoughts a bit. I'll take another round here and then come back. Noxia cheerfully replied, yes, I got it. Thank you so much for today. The female lead waved goodbye to her sister to continue her walk. Now that she was alone, she immersed herself in her thoughts. The compensation should be just enough, right? If I paid more, there might be rumors that I've changed a lot. But the evil actions of Naja took place in places I didn't even know about. It turns out what I know isn't everything. What have I done wrong and where? It's true that if I can't find a way to protect myself then. While thinking, Naja glanced around at the surroundings. At that moment, she looked over. Seeing the person sitting across from him was Atkan, he was surprised. She spoke up and asked, I thought you would have left when Noxia did, because I wanted to be alone for a while to think. The cold face of Atkan stared at the lady. Naja was a bit surprised. What's up? Do you have something to tell me? Atkan finally spoke up. Perhaps I mentioned it once before. I don't know what the owner intends to do, but this is really uncomfortable. Just be honest about what the owner wants to do. Hearing what he said, Naja panicked too, not understanding what on earth I had done. Suddenly, she remembered what had just happened in the dressing room. Is it because I patted your head so affectionately, that you're thinking like this? Atcan heard Ms. ask but remained silent, not responding, as the two people stared at each other. Naja thought to herself, even in dreams, no matter how much he was hit, he never complained, but just because of a compliment, he reacted like that. Looking back, when you saw the stars in the night sky, your reaction was exactly the same as it is now. I thought you were dissatisfied with my attitude changing in just one morning, but it turns out that wasn't all. Then she spoke to him, Atcan. You didn't think that was your first time, did you, both when you heard my sweet praise and when we looked at the stars that night? Atcan stared blankly and replied, is it really that important? At this moment, the heroine smiled smugly. He didn't deny it. Perhaps this guy is really a good one. Atcan is so mature that I forgot he's a legendary villain, but is still just a boy. After that thought, she brushed her hair and spoke loudly, of course it matters, if that's true. I just want to treat you better. The first time he heard these words, Atcan's eyes widened in surprise. At the palace, Noxia entered and was immediately surrounded by the servants, asking, Miss, is everything all right? Noxia turned around in confusion and asked, what's going on? The servants didn't answer directly, but spoke sarcastically, you can tell right away. Lady Naja pretended to help choose a dress for the lady, but ended up harming her, didn't she? Clearly, she chose the least attractive dress in the wardrobe for the lady. Noxia was surprised to hear that. Don't say that, thanks to her, I was able to choose a dress I loved. Since they were all beautiful, you have no idea how hard it was to choose. The maid heard this and replied, Our lady is so gentle, what can we do now? Miss, don't be like that, be prepared for Miss Naja's schemes. I heard she's planning to ruin the dress you'll wear to the ball that day. Hearing the servant's words, Noxia was astonished. What? She then pondered, wondering if perhaps what the servant said was true. I was deceived by her and got into trouble, not just once or twice. But she spoke up to the servant, there was something different from before. Even when the whole body gets wet. Even when Dad gave the necklace. Even when choosing a dress for myself today. The way she's been treating me so well is the first time since I discovered this ability. Who knows, maybe she and I can become close again. So thank you for caring about me, but there's no need to say things like that anymore. I believe she has changed. The servant, looking confused, replied, yes, if the lady has said so, then we apologize for any offense. Then the whole group turned and walked away. Noxia wondered to herself if she would do well. Well done, I wish I could get a head pat too. Suddenly, there were whispers and murmurs. Could that girl be the eldest daughter of the Relo family? Both her appearance and talent are nothing compared to her younger sister. It's hard to believe they are twins. Good genes only get passed down to one person, while the other one is left with the leftover scraps. Suddenly, Naja bumped into a servant, and she was terrified and panicked. I'm sorry. But instead of forgiving, she turned around with a gaze sharp as a knife. Is she also trying to mock me? Making the servant confused and trembling in fear, Naja suddenly grabbed her hand and pulled her away, saying, just apologizing isn't enough, follow me, and you'd better not scream. Suddenly, Naja jolted awake, dreaming that same dream again. This time, it wasn't just a simple dream. At that moment, a servant came in to check and said, Miss, you're awake, and she nodded in response. Jerin kept asking anxiously, why does the lady look so pale? Did the lady have a nightmare? Naja hesitated to reply, a bit unsure. The maid quickly reassured her, Miss, please forget about those bad dreams. Today is the day we go to the royal ball, there will be lots of fun tonight. She thought to herself, so that's it, today is the day the beloved goddess, the female lead Noxia, and the male lead Prince Rohio meet for the first time. Is something wrong? Just keep quiet as planned and then attend the royal ball with Atcan. Massage, makeup, and even the outfit took several hours to prepare for the ball, even though we were already at home, and I just wanted to go back home. While walking down the stairs, she was incredibly surprised, Atcan. When have you been waiting here? He replied, I just got here, really, you look so dapper today. Atcan humbly said, you're too kind. I just wore what Chuthu chose for me. Nasia immediately responded, what completes the outfit is that face, already handsome and now even more radiant. Being an older brother makes me a bit hesitant. She kept teasing, what's wrong? Don't you know you're handsome? Atkan continued, recently the lady has been a bit much. Nasia asked in surprise, much, what do you mean? The lady is being too straightforward. She playfully teased back, sweetly, isn't this a compliment? At that moment, Noxia's voice rang out, sister. Noxia, you're here already. Yes, sis, are you coming with me today? Nasia flashed a warm smile and replied, of course, why are you asking? I'm just asking, because usually we drive separately. The thought of riding together with you makes me really happy. There's no reason for us to go separately, we're sisters after all. At the Relo royal court, as the three of them stepped in, the gossip started buzzing again. Aren't those the famous twin daughters of Relo? I also know them, the younger sister is famous for shining brightly, while the older sister is just a shadow, isn't she? Nasia heard it and thought to herself, it's exactly like the dream from this morning, now I understand why Nasia took her own carriage. Every time I walk by, the whispers and murmurs seem to be directed at me, which makes me annoyed. At this moment, Atkan glanced at her with concern. Nasia quickly dismissed her thoughts and focused on the main issue. First, she would step aside so that Noxia and Rohio could meet naturally. Immediately, she walked up to her sister and said, Noxia, see you later. I want to take a walk around with the servant, yes see you later. Nasia left with Atkan. She thought to herself, that she needed to drink some water to wake up since it was the first time Atkan was here. It would be better to prepare something new. Then she spoke up, saying, wait here for a moment, okay. After speaking, Nasia turned and walked away. Atkan seemed to be mesmerized by her beauty. But then, the bad words started spreading, the black hair seemed to be covered in filth. Atkan glanced at them. What's with that gloomy face? Besides, the younger sister already has outstanding abilities, but the older sister still doesn't have anything. That necklace looks just like Noxia's, doesn't it? Surely the older sister is just copying, there's nothing special so she has to imitate. These words reminded him of the time, when he too had experienced the feeling of being trampled on and despised. After all, he was just a useless orphan, even if he died during the experiment. No one would ever know. Suddenly, a loud pop echoed, startling him. Nasia just slapped another young lady. Atkan had just arrived when she overheard the conversation. Nasia warned her, from now on, listen carefully to what I have to say. If you whisper behind my back again, no matter who you are, I will tear your mouth apart. He was incredibly surprised by Nasia's powerful words. After saying that, she left and ran into Atkan. He gently told her, let's go outside. At this moment, Nasia felt really ashamed and blamed herself, thinking she needed to control her temper better. Only by doing that could she resemble the original Nasia. Atkan suddenly spoke up, Miss. Will the lady really tear their mouths apart? No, that's not it at all, she replied, flustered. Atkan continued to ask, so is that a lie? Even if it's a lie, it's still a kind of warning. Some people don't understand when you speak kindly to them. She angrily said to Atkan, do you really think I'll tear their mouths apart? He calmly replied, if it were a young lady, it could be a possibility. You leave people speechless. So, what about the royal ball? Although I've already ruined the mood and stepped out, Atkan suddenly interrupted her, saying, nothing special. So it just ends like that, Nasia asked, yes, thought there would be something to like. Atkan seems quiet. Unexpectedly, Nasia, who acted extremely cruelly at Relo's house, was actually the subject of mockery by other nobles. In the world of nobility, where the strong are honored with sweet words and the weak are ruthlessly trampled, Nasia is that weak one. When she stood in front of others, it feels like a reminder to those who once bothered me, and somehow, I feel really at ease. I hate places like this, but in this situation, I don't find it annoying at all, he thought. Then I wondered, but what would be best? Atkan turned to look intently at Nasia. Suddenly, he heard something, voices talking. Suddenly, Nasia called, Atkan. He immediately responded, yes. Then suddenly dragged away. Both fell down together, and hid behind a row of trees nearby. Nasia's face was extremely serious, she whispered, "Be quiet for a moment." The chatter was buzzing. "I went that far, at the Relo family, it's too troublesome." At this moment, Nasia was watching from behind, thinking, "I just saw a young man in a fancy outfit with red hair, so that means..." She listened intently as the old man with white hair spoke. He said that if they had a close relationship with Miss Relo, it might help with something in the future, Your Highness. Nasia suddenly realized that the figure she saw from behind was indeed the male lead of the beloved goddess play. That is Rohio. So the person accompanying him is Raigan, his loyal servant. Returning to the conversation, Prince Rohio rebutted, "It's not that I want to join the family game, but when I become emperor, I want to make the Aquan Empire even stronger." Raigan awkwardly responded, "I know what that means. To achieve that, it's important to build a relationship with the Relo family." The prince sighed, "This ball is being held for my birthday, yet I have to pretend to get along with the daughter of the Relo family when my heart feels nothing at all." At that moment, Nasia suddenly realized this seemed like a conversation she shouldn't have heard. If Prince Rohio found out she had overheard this, the relationship between them would become very awkward. Then she hurriedly said to Atkan, "You see it too, right? Let's quietly leave this place now." "I understand." Suddenly, Noxia appeared. "Sister, what are you doing here?" Nasia asked in confusion. "Noxia, how are you?" But before he could finish his sentence, Prince Rohio and his servant Raigan had already discovered it. The prince quickly spoke up, "Over there, who is that?" "I really didn't expect everyone to come to such a remote place," Nasia replied, feeling awkward. Noxia quickly interrupted, "Very pleased to meet His Highness the Crown Prince. I am Noxia, daughter of the Relo clan, and this is my older sister Nasia. I didn't see her in the hall, so I came here to look for her." Making Prince Rohio a bit surprised, Relo. "Earlier, I'm not sure if our conversation caused any misunderstanding. If you heard anything, please let me explain." Noxia quickly replied, "It's okay. I wouldn't want to trouble His Highness. I'm past the age for playing family games now." Indeed, the young lady heard it. "If you ask whether I heard that you don't want to play the family game, then yes, I heard it very clearly." Hearing those words, Nasia suddenly fell silent and called, "Noxia." After that, Noxia quickly grabbed Nasia's hand and pulled her away, saying, "If there's nothing else, we'll take our leave." "Happy birthday, Your Highness." Prince Rohio didn't know what to say, and just watched them leave. Nasia was quite surprised and turned around to look. She thought to herself, "It's over, it's over. I was planning to connect the two of them, but if it's like this, it won't work at all." At this moment, the three of them had entered the hallway of the royal palace. Noxia only now began to scold. "I didn't expect that even His Royal Highness the Crown Prince could speak so carelessly." "Sister, do you feel hurt?" This question surprised Nasia a bit. Noxia continued, "Actually, just a moment ago in the hall, a few people came up to me and they were talking about you in a casual manner like that. Even though I warned them. I don't know if others have been bad-mouthing you as well, and you got so angry that you smashed the glass and walked out like that." Nasia heard and asked, "Did you follow me because you were worried about me?" She thought to herself, so that's why she has that attitude towards Prince Rohio. I'm really grateful that she was worried about me, but right now I feel like my life is in danger rather than just being hurt. Indeed, they can't let those two miss each other like this. Nasia then said, "Noxia, I think you misunderstood something." "Misunderstood? You don't know where you heard that, but the Crown Prince is looking toward a distant future. If Akan wants to become a powerful empire, it is crucial to have harmony between the nobility and the royal family. Even though this harmony is absolutely necessary, it can't please everyone." Noxia said sadly, "Even so, the truth is that he and I don't have a good relationship." She then explained, "What I mean is, we shouldn't judge everything by looking from one side. The Crown Prince is also just someone with great ambition. Yes, you know that, right? He's a prodigy who started learning swordsmanship at the age of 5, and though many battles have taken place, he's never lost once. Not only that, but his captivating eyes and rose-red lips could make countless women in the capital fall hopelessly in love with just a glance. I've heard that rumor too, but..." Nasia happily continued, so you know how promising the crown prince is, right? In terms of intelligence, physical strength, and beauty, he lacks nothing. Being such a perfect person is exactly why he has such great ambitions. In the meantime, Atkan also listened attentively to her words. Noxia, feeling emotional, said, "Sister, do you like the crown prince?" Neja exclaimed in shock, "Absolutely not. It's just that I don't want either side to misunderstand and avoid each other. Let's not do that. Let's see what His Highness, the Crown Prince, has to say. I understand if you want to. Alright, good job, let's go now," Neja smiled and urged. Suddenly, a voice unexpectedly rang out, "Miss Relo, so this is where you are." Noxia panicked, "Madam Tiayu, why are you here? Oh dear. Have you forgotten, you promised to show me your abilities, and right now there are many people waiting to see them." Neja was worried, "No, not allowed." After hearing Madam Tiayu's words, I realized that the content of the novel is about to unfold. In reality, Rohio and Noxia have been drawn to each other for valid reasons. But the crux of the matter is that there is a secondary antagonist in the novel named Lena Rixa. Lena Rixa is trying to humiliate Noxia and attempted to set off fireworks just as the water started moving. According to the plan, before showcasing his abilities, Noxia will be startled and surprised by the sound of fireworks, with water spraying everywhere. Something will prevent the water from falling on Noxia, and that will be Prince Rohio. Neja suddenly burst out laughing. She would get to see that romantic scene from afar, but if it happened right now, everything might deviate from the original plan. Returning to the earlier conversation, Neja suddenly interrupted, "Noxia, before entering the hall, try meeting and talking to His Highness," her younger sister hesitantly asked back. "Should I go? But I heard everyone is waiting for me." At this moment, Lady Tiayu spoke up, "You're talking about His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, right? After all, he will be attending the hall, so why don't you go there and meet him?" Noxia replied, "Come to think of it, Lady Tiayu is indeed right." Then she turned to Neja and said, "Sister, I'll go to the hall to meet and talk to His Highness." Neja hesitated for a moment, but "All right, Noxia, I'll come later. You go ahead first." "Yes, see you there." After her sister left, Neja turned and called Atkan. "Now go to the hall and find Miss Ritza. Tell her I want to see her for a moment. Lena and I both hate Noxia, so somehow, she and I became good friends." At this moment, Lena is probably preparing for the fireworks display in the room. She will time it to signal the servants to hold the fireworks. First, the important thing now is to divert her attention. And by some time. Immediately, Neja told Atkan that she often visited the Relo family. "You know what kind of person she is, right?" "Yes," he replied. Then she continued, "If possible, keep her there and don't let her go anywhere." "I understand." Having said that, he immediately left, doing exactly as Neja instructed. Suddenly, she called Atkan and spoke in an extremely urgent tone, asking him for help. It surprised him a bit. Atkan immediately reassured her, "Yes, I will do my best." Thanks to those words, Neja felt more at ease and continued thinking. Now, what she had to do was find Prince Rohio, and she would try to convince him to talk to Noxia, hoping everything would go as planned. However, absolute life never goes as planned. She blamed herself, feeling truly disappointed. It's all ruined. A moment ago, Neja was looking around for the prince. Where could Rohio be? Clearly, in the original story, when Noxia displayed this ability, he was nearby. Why was it there? The course of events has truly deviated from the original story. Neja immediately went to Rohio, respectfully greeting, "Your Highness, the Crown Prince." He then asked, "Are you the young lady I saw at the manor?" She cautiously introduced herself. "I am Neja, the eldest daughter of the Relo family. I see you seem to be in a hurry. Is something wrong?" Neja calmly replied, "Earlier there seemed to be some misunderstanding, so I wanted to talk to you once more." Although a bit flustered, the prince courteously replied, "It's a relief. I thought I wouldn't have the chance to speak again." Immediately, she got to the point, "Your Highness, my younger sister was also there earlier, and it would be great if all three of us could talk together." The prince then said, "That would be good too." Meanwhile, Noxia is showcasing her abilities in the hall. And there was also the presence of Prince Rohio. Nasia was secretly pleased. Good, I wasn't late. But there was one thing that worried her. It seemed like Atkan was holding Lena back as per her request, and if things continued this way, there would be nothing that could embarrass Noxia. It seems Rohio is also quite interested in Noxia's abilities. The earlier situation can still be salvaged. Suddenly, she realized something. Holding a firework in her hand, Nasia suddenly realized that the person was Lena's servant. Why was he pulling out fireworks? Immediately, she asked for permission. "Your Highness, my younger sister is showing everyone her skills." The prince replied, "Waiting a bit longer won't hurt, because I'm quite interested in watching those skills too. Would you like to come closer to see it?" Of course. At the same time, Nasia couldn't help but feel uneasy, sensing that something might be off. What if something really happened? So she decided to bring Rohio closer to Noxia. But she also had a question. Are they planning to set off fireworks now? Lena is not here either, so why? Moreover, Noxia and Rohio are still too far apart. Then Nasia said, "Your Highness, please stand before me." The prince replied, "Thank you." If you want to create a situation where Rohio stands to block water for Noxia, you need to get a little closer. Just a bit more. And a little more. Finally, the fireworks went off, and Noxia screamed in panic. Nasia was worried. No, if it's like this, Noxia everything will be in vain. Suddenly, someone pushed Prince Rohio. Make him a bit startled. And now, Prince Rohio, as expected, has stepped in to shield the water for Noxia. But then, something unexpected happened. She awkwardly said, "Your Highness, this." At that moment, Nasia thought to herself, "I'm doomed." I moved my hand before I could even process what was happening. Prince Rohio spoke up. "Maybe this isn't an accident, right?" Nasia panicked and hurriedly said, "I'm sorry, the fireworks went off suddenly, so I didn't know either. Since this is my mistake, even if I had 10 mouths, I wouldn't dare to make any excuses. First of all, please use this." Prince Rohio was quite angry at this moment. He irritably said, "So now you want me to believe what you're saying?" Noxia stood by, clearly worried. "Your Highness, do you mean this happened because I did it on purpose? So, you could say it's not like that, right? One side pushes, the other splashes water. Twin sisters should be in sync, right?" The Lord scolded them, and Noxia quickly defended herself, saying there was no evidence and questioning why he was accusing others unfairly. She said she had already been directly affected and wondered what more evidence was needed. Nasia, feeling confused, interrupted, "Wait a moment, it seems there's been a bit of misunderstanding between both sides." At the same time, both Prince Rohio and Noxia said loudly, "It seems this isn't the place for you to step up. Don't get involved." Surprising and scaring Nasia. I intended to help make the first meeting between those two a success, but it was a complete failure. So that's how it is, but where is Atkan now? Clearly, neither Atkan nor Lena are in the hall. So why did that servant set off the fireworks? Nasia searched everywhere, but couldn't find anyone. She asked the waiter if he had seen her servant. He replied he hadn't seen him either. She asked further, "What about Miss Ritzar?" He said he hadn't seen Miss Ritzar either. Ponder for a moment. She continued asking if there were any places near the hall where a major disturbance occurred. The server immediately replied that if it was a disturbance, then Atkan stood outside, guarding the door. Nasia suddenly spoke up, "Atkan. The lady's here." She suddenly asked, "What are you doing here?" Suddenly, Lena's voice rang out, cursing, "You won't open the door. If I get out of here, I won't let you off the hook." Nasia whispered, "Could it be that Miss Ritzar is inside?" "Yes. Did you lock her up?" Atkan suddenly imitated her, whispering, "The lady said no matter what, we have to keep it." "So, I said that, but what did you do to entice her?" "I said that Miss Nasia is waiting inside." "Very smart indeed, and then you stand at the door like this." "Yes, she keeps asking, even now she keeps asking." Miss said that if possible, keep Miss Ritzia as long as possible, so I don't know how long it will last. Lena's voice rang out again, "I told you to open the door," regardless of her desperate screams. Atkan gently said, Miss, as you can see, I fear I cannot bear the consequences of this. So I waited until you arrived. Did I do something wrong? Naja heard that, smiled and said, no, you did great, because you handled perfectly what I asked you to do, so I'm just surprised. Atkan hesitantly replied, as this was the first time the young lady had asked for his help. It surprised her quite a bit. Lena suddenly shouted, now let's try throwing something and see what happens. We can't delay any longer. Naja quickly knocked on the door, Lena, it's me. She stopped, panting, and asked again, Naja. Right, just wait a moment, I will come in now. In front of her was a scene of utter chaos. She had destroyed everything. When seeing Atkan, Lena's rage erupted, immediately yelling, you lowly servant, how dare you lock me up here? Naja interrupted, wait a minute, Lena, there's nothing to say to my servant, this is what I asked for. Lena couldn't believe it and asked again, what did you say, why are you doing this? I just wanted to surprise you, but it seems like I'm a little late, doesn't it? Lena suddenly lost her composure, screamed, unable to believe it. Naja, you know what I've prepared today, do you think I can trust those words? In the room, Lena stood huddled and speechless. Naja linked arms with Atkan and flashed a friendly but meaningful smile, saying, sorry Lena, but the fireworks have already gone off, so don't worry. Compared to that, I have a question. Why is there no signal from her, but the fireworks are still going off? This question made the villainous Lena think for a while. Then I replied, I had already ordered that even without a signal, the fireworks must go off on time, just as a precaution. Naja, hearing that, sneered at her dismissively. So that's how it is. She still appeared cheerful and spoke kindly, saying, it must be quite stuffy here. Come to the hall with us. Lena sighed and replied, no, you two go ahead. I'll fix my dress and join you later. Naja turned around and said to her, all right, see you later. Lena tried to appear calm on the outside, but in reality, she was furious, gritting her teeth and clenching her fists, struggling to swallow her anger. Then she realized her power had just emerged. Lena remembered, since I couldn't maximize my abilities like Noxia, my skills went unnoticed by everyone. Even the Chittar family didn't care about the abilities of an illegitimate child like me, and that became the reason I was compared to Noxia. If it weren't for Noxia, I would have earned the recognition of the clan. Lena hated Noxia so much that she wanted to use magic to control the candle and crush it. Then she continued to ponder over Naja. Compared to me, she hates Noxia even more, after all, blood is thicker than water. Lena could no longer control her anger, and chopped the candle into small pieces. She looked at the broken pieces from the candle holder on the floor. With eyes full of seething hatred, she silently vowed to herself, Naja, you will pay for deceiving me.